20 Premier League lineups predicted. All set-piece takers listed. This video is essential viewing to make sure you have all of the information you need ahead of Game Week 1. Okay guys, so this is a jumbo video. We're going to be talking about 20 teams in today's video, and we're going to go through alphabetically, starting off, of course, with Arsenal. And by the way, guys, not only have we got predicted lineups here, but I've also included all of the player prices, as well as how at risk they are of not starting or getting benched, for example, there. So I've really divided players into three categories. We've got the low risk players, over 90% chance of them starting. I don't really think you need to even think about whether they'll be benched or not, because it would be such a surprise if they were benched. We've got those medium risk players, kind of a 70 to 90% chance of starting. So they are still very likely to start the game, but maybe you should have at least a little bit of acknowledge that they could potentially get benched, even if it might be unlikely. And finally, we've got those higher risk players. I'm still predicting these players to start, but these are players I'm far less confident in. And we're going to see a lot of these kind of these risk factors in this Arsenal team to start off their season against Manchester United. So first of all, let's go to the forwards. We've got Martinelli, Gyökeres and Saka. Saka is going to be the most nailed on player in this Arsenal attack. Martinelli may see some rotation. There are some other alternatives there. You could see Kai Havertz come in instead of Gyökeres, but it's pretty unlikely that that will happen, which is why these guys are only medium risk. And we're talking medium risk in terms of, you know, in FPL terms. Like, we need to be very confident in a player starting to be confident in having them in our teams. There is some risk attached to these players, but generally speaking, they should start. We would be a little bit surprised if they didn't. In midfield, Rice, Supermendy and Ødegaard seems pretty straightforward. Gabriel is fully fit now. Saliba, Raya, all good to go. A little bit of concern around Timber. Is it going to be him or Ben White at right back? And at left back, he's probably the highest risk player in this team, because it could easily be Calafiori or Lewis Skelly at left back. So I think the fullback positions for Arsenal are certainly the places we're going to see the most rotation. In terms of those set pieces, penalties, I think Saka is probably still going to be the primary penalty taker, but Gyökeres is definitely going to give him a run for his money there. So don't be surprised if Gyökeres takes some penalties off Saka. And of course, if neither of those two players are on the pitch, we could see Ødegaard. For free kicks and corners, it's mostly about Declan Rice, but Ødegaard and Saka could also have some influence there. So there is Arsenal. We've got 19 more teams to look at. But guys, this video was actually made possible by FOTMob, which is an amazing app, completely free, by the way, guys. If you want to check it out, the link is in the description. But basically, they have all of the preseason game data on their app, on their website right now. And using their tools, I was able to very, very easily predict a lot of these teams. So if you are a big FPL fan, you want to have that extra app in your arsenal, no pun intended there, check it out, guys. It is really, really useful. They've got stats on there, they've got all kinds of stuff, and we're going to be showing a little bit of that throughout this video too. So let's go into team 2. It's going to be Aston Villa, guys, and if you are enjoying this video so far, please do drop a like. A lot of work has gone into trying to provide the best and most accurate predictions of teams anywhere on the internet. I think we've got it covered from all of the research that we have done in this video, and no matter how much research I did, Aston Villa is genuinely a really difficult team to predict, because certainly in the preseason games, they've been playing pretty much with a different lineup every game. And really, the only safe players I would say are Watkins, Tielemans, Konsa, and Bizot, because of Martinez is going to be suspended for the first game. So Bizot is going to be the goalkeeper for that first game of the season, we are thinking. So we've got some medium risk players in here as well. Cash at right back, most likely. Pau, or, you know, maybe Mings could potentially come in, but more likely Pau in the left centre back, and then Maatsen at left back. Kamara or Onana in one of those defensive midfield positions, but far more likely to be Kamara. And Marlon, I think, has got a pretty decent shot of starting the first game, given he has been so good in pre-season. What is interesting here, though, is that there's no Morgan Rogers in this team. He has not been pictured training or anything like that so far, so he could miss the opening game against Newcastle for Aston Villa. So therefore, judging by the pre-season games, we've got to predict Buendia is going to be the guy starting at this central attacking midfield position. He has been playing there most of all, as we can see from pre-season, but definitely when Rodgers is back, I would definitely give him a good chance of starting in that position. McGinn, I think, is probably the guy going to maybe play in the left midfield position, but again, very, very difficult to predict this kind of thing. We've got some other players coming into Aston Villa. We've got Gesand, for example. We've got Bailey. He could come in one of these positions as well. I did at one point have Jacob Ramsey as a prediction here, but he is now linked to a move to Newcastle. So he might be playing in this game, but he might not be wearing an Aston Villa shirt, which is kind of interesting. But in terms of those penalties, most Aston Villa fans at this point are saying Watkins is more likely to take the penalties than Tielemans. In terms of direct free kicks, Digne, McGinn, Tielemans again, and corners will be Tielemans and McGinn for Aston Villa. Bournemouth have a tricky away fixture against Liverpool, but the fixtures actually do look a little bit better after that. So let's have a look at this Bournemouth side, and we've got Evan Nielsen as that nailed starting striker for this Bournemouth team in the centre there. Semenyo is going to be pretty low risk as well. I think he's going to play on the right-hand side. In terms of those other very low risk players, we've got Adams, Troffer, Senesi, and Petrovic, but maybe we've got some interesting other shouts here. So we've got Hill, for example, 4 million defender. I think he has a very good chance of starting in game week 1, and maybe Smith at right back. Scott could take a midfield position. Brooks maybe playing the attacking midfield position since Cliver is still unavailable, and I'm going to put Tavernier at the left midfield position there as well. Maybe a medium risk attached to him, but Brooks and Smith seem to be the most players in doubt here. In terms of those penalties, Cliver, when he's available, assuming he is still at Bournemouth, is going to be the penalty taking man. But Evan Nielsen did actually take a penalty last season. He did miss it, but generally his penalty taking record is not too bad, so maybe he could get the penalties back in any absence of Cliver. For free kicks, Tavernier and Scott seem to be the guys. In corners, Tavernier, Cliver, Christie, and also Lewis Cook, who is going to come into this team at some point or another in the season too. So a lot of people curious how Brentford are going to get on this season with No and Burmo. How are they going to line up? What's going to be the Wissa situation? And I'm actually not predicting Wissa to start in game week 1, certainly until Brentford figure out, is he going to stay? Is he going to go? What's happening there? So it's probably more likely that Wissa does not start in game week 1, but let's run through this team anyway. I think Thiago is probably most likely to start the first game of the season, although it should be said now that Brentford are actually, they're in talks with a new striker that they are looking to sign. His name escapes me, but he's a French guy, I believe, who's pretty good. So, there is maybe some risk to Thiago after game week 1, but for game week 1 should be absolutely fine. Lewis Potter, who's actually listed as a midfielder in FPL, as a defender on FPL, maybe taking up that left wing position, and Carvalho on the right. Damsgaard, Jensen, and Yarmolik should be fairly nailed on, although I do wonder if Jordan Henderson could maybe get some game time at some point during the season. Collins really the only nailed on defender here, but we've got Vandenberg and Kyoto pretty likely here. Henry maybe playing at that left back position. We could see Aaron Hickey there as well. And as for the goalkeeper, well, Kelleher has actually got a little minor injury, so I'm not sure if he's 100% going to be available for Brentford for game week 1. We could see Valdemarson play in goal. He's 4 million, by the way, guys. But I still think it's probably more likely Kelleher starts given current information. But, we don't know exactly how fit Kelleher is yet. In terms of those set pieces, penalties, is going to be Wissa, Thiago most likely. Free kicks is going to be Damsgaard, Lewis Potter, and corners, Damsgaard again and Jensen. So Damsgaard at 6 million, maybe looking like one of the stronger players to pick from Brentford, considering he has that set piece share and he is a very low risk player. Should probably start the vast majority of games for Brentford throughout the season. Okay, so Brighton, and I'm sure a lot of people are looking at Danny Welbeck for Brighton, probably as the primary target, maybe for Bruggen as well, maybe Mitoma. There are some difficult fixtures for Brighton. They do start the season against Fulham, however, but let's go through some of these nailed players first of all. Mitoma should be absolutely fine, going to be playing all of the games he is available for. Ayari, Van Hecke, and Verbruggen, who is now available. He is fully fit. He's ready to go for the new season. He is a very low risk player. We've got De Kuyper coming in as a new left back. I think he's pretty likely to start, but with those new signings, there is often some risk attached to them in their first game of the season. Dunk and Viper maybe playing at right back there as well. O'Reilly behind the striker, Minter on the right, Baleba, probably the high-risk player, given that he's currently linked with a move away from Brighton. But up front, we've actually got Jorginho and not Welbeck, guys. And yes, Jorginho, during pre-season for Brighton, has actually been starting the majority of games as the central striker. He is listed as a midfielder in FPL for just 6 million. So, you know, even if Welbeck comes back into this Brighton team, Jorginho can play on the right. He can play behind the striker as well. He's quite a versatile player, actually. So I think he's really going to be good for minutes throughout the season. I've got him as medium risk. That's really medium risk as a striker. There are other options. Brighton do have a lot of options in these attacking areas. You know, you've got Gruder, who could come in, for example, and play in one of these positions too. So, yeah, maybe some risk attached to Jorginho, but actually I think he is very interesting as an FPL pick. And certainly if we can get some good information over the first few game weeks for him, maybe he could be the one. Penalties, Welbeck and O'Reilly. Free kicks, Welbeck, O'Reilly, Ayari and Gruder. And as for corners, O'Reilly, Ayari and Gruder as well. Newly promoted Burnley, I think they should be fairly straightforward in a lot of areas. The real risk areas are maybe in the goalkeeper position. Dubravka lacking some match fitness, so may not actually play game week 1, but Dubravka will be the long-term goalkeeper. But we've got Hladky as the goalkeeper for game week 1 at least. And I think actually Burnley are going to play with a 5 at the back formation, which is actually going to mean Walker is playing more as a right centre-back position. So maybe Walker, maybe not as appealing as maybe some people think he might be. Hartman, on the other hand, playing as an advanced left wing back for 4 million, I think it's genuinely really interesting. We've got some other high risk players like Edwards and Son there, and the risk attached to these players is maybe going to be more about formation. Is Hannibal going to come and play, for example, depending on what formation Burnley line up with? In terms of those penalties, Brun Larsen and Edwards look like the best bets for those. Free kicks, Anthony, new signing, new like permanent signing, Hannibal, Edwards, Anthony, and Edwards on the corners as well. Okay, Chelsea, a team that I'm sure a lot of people are interested in for FPL, playing against Crystal Palace at home for this opening game of the season. And there's a lot of areas where I'm pretty happy with. So, for example, Sanchez in goal, Cucurella left back, Enzo Caicedo in midfield with Palmer ahead of them in the attacking midfield position. And I would be reasonably confident of a front three of Gittins, Joao Pedro, and Neto there as well as a front three. But these players, certainly the front three, I can't say they are 100% guaranteed to start game week 1. There are other options in each of their positions. You know, we've got Esteval, for example. You've got Delap there as well. So it would be interesting to see how many games these players play. But my bet would be on these 3 forwards starting off the season. In terms of the other defenders outside of Cucurella, this is where things get pretty messy. And I'm sure there'll be Chelsea fans in the comments already giving all kinds of different opinions. Some of you guys will be saying, yes, you got it right, Dan. Others of you will be saying, nah, that's completely wrong. But this is just what I am predicting based on what I've seen from preseason, from managers' comments, and from listening to a lot of fans as well. But we've got Chalobah, Tosin as the centre backs. But again, these are going to be rotation risk every week, so I don't think I would touch them. You got Fofana there to come in as contention as well, and Gusto at right back, but could easily also be Reece James there. In terms of set pieces, penalties, Palmer, and if Palmer's not on the pitch, you would have to make a good bet that Joao Pedro could take a penalty, or maybe Enzo there as well as an alternative. But let's be honest, Palmer is going to be a 90-minute man in most games. For free kicks, it's going to be Palmer, James, and Enzo. And as for corners, maybe Enzo's taking them slightly more often than Palmer, but both of these players should have a decent corner share. And by the way, guys, on the set piece takers, I have tried to order things on most likely player to take the set piece to least likely player to take the set piece. So we've put a bunch of options there. Palmer is the penalty taker for Chelsea, but I've listed these other players just so you guys can kind of get an idea of, just in case Palmer is injured, suspended, not on the pitch for whatever reason, who else is most likely to step up and take a set piece. Crystal Palace, FA Cup winners and now Community Shield champions as well. And this is probably one of the easier teams to predict in the Premier League because they just run with the same team every game. So the whole right side of the team is pretty nailed on for me. Mateta, Sarr, Wharton, Munoz, Lacroix, Richards, Henderson. Really nice stuff there. I really do like Lacroix, Richards, and Munoz as FPL picks if you do fancy going there. And Sarr could thrive even in some of these more difficult games. Now, there might be some risk attached to Eza, considering he is linked with a move away to Spurs at the moment, actually. Mitchell, maybe slight risk there. There is Sosa, the new left back, who could potentially get get some minutes, but far more likely to be Mitchell. Gay, another player who maybe linked away, also, you know, was subbed off early. We think he's going to be fine, but again, you know, there's maybe that tiny bit of risk attached to him. And the left centre mid is probably the biggest problem for me. I think it's probably going to be Hughes because Kamada has picked up an injury. But again, maybe you guys have some different opinions on that one. That is the one I'm least confident in. For set pieces, penalties are going to be primarily Mateta, if not Eze. Free kicks, Eze and Devaney as well, if he can get any game time. Corners, Eze, Hughes, Wharton and Kamada. Everton just signed Jack Grealish, but I don't think he is going to start this opening game against Leeds. I think Ilman Ndiaye is probably your most nailed on attacker in this Everton side. Even if Grealish comes in and plays in that left midfield position, Ndiaye is still going to get some game time somewhere. But it could be Ndiaye on the left, could be him on the right. He could even play behind the striker. We could see Grealish behind the striker. And I actually think Dewsbury Hall is maybe the player who is maybe losing out a little bit from Grealish signing. But Alcaraz probably most in danger. Dewsbury Hall, potentials for him to play in a slightly deeper position there. Branthwaite and Tarkowski look absolutely great for this season, nailed on, as does Pickford. Left back, a bit of a problem. Mikolenko picking up an injury, so Asnu should start the season at left back. And the forward position is really up for grabs. It's going to be one of Barry or Beto. It's a coin toss at this moment. Barry did indeed play the most recent friendly, and there has been some positive words about Barry maybe compared to Beto in the preseason as well. So I'm predicting Barry to start the first game of the season, but I'm in no means confident. I think I would just ignore those Everton forwards for FPL. For penalties, Ndiaye is the penalty taker. Beto is going to be the backup there. For free kicks, we're looking at Alcaraz and Garner, but maybe some other players can come in. Maybe even Grealish can take some set pieces here. Corners, McNeil, and we've got Garner down as well. Okay, let's take a look at Fulham. A lot of players here are, again, very, very nice and nailed on in this Fulham team. I really like Anderson as a 4.5 million pick in defense. The problem areas really are Robinson at left back, because Robinson is still recovering from surgery, from an injury. So it's kind of unsure whether he is going to be ready to start game week 1 or not, but he might actually be forced to because of the injury to Sessegnon. So it's going to be interesting to see if Robinson is available immediately or not. The behind the striker role could go to Smith Rowe, could go to Andreas, kind of unsure there. Actually, 4.5 million Josh King has been playing as the attacking midfielder during preseason. So he's a player to look out for. Really young prospect there for Fulham. Could do a really good job and really a player for the future. He's kind of the new Harvey Elliott, sorry. Elliot Anderson I was thinking of. Maybe the new Harvey Elliott, maybe the new Sessegnon. You know, that new hot prospect that Fulham always seem to produce. At the forward position, maybe some risk here. Could be Raul Jimenez, could be Muniz. Varying opinions on that one, but I've gone for Raul here. And Wilson at right mid genuinely could be quite interesting, because if we look at the set piece takers, yes, the penalties are going to go to Raul or Andreas, but free kicks and corners going to be a lot about Wilson, maybe a bit of Andreas, maybe a bit of Raul on the free kicks. But Wilson is a set piece specialist, scored a free kick in preseason actually already. So yeah, looking through the preseason stats for Wilson, he has been really, really impressive. So I wonder if he could be like a bit of a different hidden gem that you guys could think about for just 5.5 million. Okay, we're halfway through now, guys. We've got to do the rest of the teams, including the dreaded Man City. We're going to do Leeds up next. But guys, if you are appreciating the video so far, again, please do make sure you drop a like. It really does help out the channel so much. But let's go through this Leeds United team. A lot of players are pretty straightforward here. Pirot up front, the wingers. Goodmanson at 4 million at left back looks really, really good right now. The right back position is maybe a little bit more up for grabs because of injury problems actually. So Schmidt might come in and play the first game at right back, but yeah, that's not going to be a permanent situation. Midfield kind of difficult to call in some areas. I've gone for Stack, Ampadu and Tanaka, but you know, that's definitely not nailed on there, I don't think. For penalties, it's actually Strauch, who is the penalty taker for Leeds, the centre-back. So that's why he costs 4.5 million. But Pirot could be the backup penalty taker there as well. In terms of free kicks, you know, I can only really go off last season. Gruev, Aronson, you know, those were kind of the guys maybe previously for Leeds, but Goodmanson has actually come in and taken some free kicks and corners during preseason. So he's definitely a really, really interesting kind of player for 4 million, taking some of those set pieces. could actually be quite nice. So yeah, one to consider there, one to have a look at. Mighty Liverpool at home against Bournemouth. Who are they going to start with? Well, there's a lot of fairly safe players. Gakpo, Salah, Wirtz, Virgil, Konate, and Alisson. I'm pretty happy with those guys, to be honest. Frimpong and Kxxssl probably should start as well, but maybe a small amount of risk with Robertson for Kxxssl. And if Bradley is able to recover, maybe he can threaten Frimpong, but I would say that Kxxssl and Frimpong highly likely to start. There's only kind of a medium risk there. We're kind of looking at like maybe a 1 in 5 chance of these guys getting benched. So pretty low, really, but again, enough risk that we probably have to acknowledge it. Szoboszlai is going to be hopefully playing in midfield there as well. McAllister, probably the highest risk player here because he's only just returning from injury. Could see Curtis Jones fill in there. And I think Ekitike will start again as the striker. Really impressed in the Community Shield final. So yeah, most likely he is going to be ready to go straight away game week 1 for Liverpool. In terms of set piece takers, penalties will remain for Salah, but you do think that Wirtz could be the backup penalty taker now. Free kicks, I imagine maybe Szoboszlai, historically, real nice free kick specialist, but Wirtz and McAllister, of course, are there as other players more than capable of whipping in a good free kick. For those corners, McAllister, Wirtz, Szoboszlai, and I think Kxxssl genuinely could step up and become a corner taker for Liverpool. We've seen it with Robertson before and Tsimikas taking corners on that left-hand side, and maybe it's Kxxsl's turn as the left back. Wow, Man City. This is impossible. It's Pep Guardiola, man. It's Pep Roulette. Can we predict him correctly? I don't know. We'll give it a good go anyway. I think Erling Haaland is probably the only nailed-on player in this team, maybe followed by Ederson. I think Ederson will start, but there's always that looming feeling about Trafford in goal as well. I think Aït-Nouri looks pretty good, probably the best defender to go for right now. Gvardiol maybe lacking a bit of fitness, maybe unavailable, and yeah, Cherki and Bernardo, maybe some other players who we're a little bit worried about. But yeah, generally speaking, you can probably, a lot of people will probably predict a similar team to this for Man City. However, you know with Pep Guardiola that nobody is safe apart from maybe Haaland. So for that reason, even if you really think a player is going to start, you know, you've got Reinders in your team, you've got Marmoush in your team. With Pep Guardiola, you always have to acknowledge a certain amount of risk to your players. For set piece takers, Haaland, Marmoush. For penalties, free kicks of Marmoush and Foden. As for corners, Bernardo, Marmoush and Foden. Foden, by the way, not expected to start the season. He is dealing with some injury issues right now. For Manchester United, this is going to be controversial. I know it is, but I'm going to put Bruno Fernandes in the kind of attacking midfielder position for game week 1. I don't think he'll stay there. However, I think because of the fixture against Arsenal and the kind of tactical matchup there, along with the fact that Sesko is probably not going to be ready to be thrown in and start in game week 1, it's probably going to move Fernandes into an attacking midfield position and Cunha into the striker position. Alternatively, Mason Mount, Højlund, anyone? Probably not, right? But after that, Bruno will move into one of the midfield positions, and of course, Cunha will go to the left, and Sesko will go as the striker. So this is just for game week 1, guys. Remember that. Very difficult to predict a lot of players for Manchester United. We don't know the Onana fitness situation. Those centre-backs are pretty risky as well. I think Yoro probably the only nailed defender for Manchester United for game week 1. Dorgu and Ahmad, I think both of them will start, but you wonder if there could be some Dallo coming in somewhere or another. Free kicks, penalties, corners, it's all about Bruno Fernandes. We know that already. Newcastle away against Aston Villa, and yeah, no Isak in the starting 11. There's just no way he's starting in game week 1, which means Gordon is most likely to start up front. Everything else is pretty straightforward. Hall is not going to be available. Pope is most likely to start ahead of Ramsdale for the start of the season at least. And it's just a question of whether Murphy plays in one of the wing positions, and maybe that removes one of Barnes or Elanga from the starting 11. Different people with different predictions there. I'm going for Barnes and Elanga on the wings, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Murphy in there. Set piece takers, well, it was Isak, but Gordon and Cher could also step up. Free kicks, Trippier and Cher. And as for corners, Trippier, Hall, Gordon, Tonali have all seen their share in the past. Okay, Nottingham Forest, a lot of the players are pretty straightforward. However, there is maybe some discussion about the formation. So really the only players I'm worried about are Yates and Ndoye. Ndoye because he's a new player into the club, but also Yates, there is, I think, definitely some potential for Nottingham Forest to actually switch their formation. So we've seen in pre-season, actually, Nottingham Forest have been operating at times with a 4-4-2 formation. And if that is the situation, then Yates is probably going to come out of the team, and we could see the new forward come in, Igor Jesus, who could come in and play as a striker alongside Wood. So possibility of a 4-4-2, and it would be Yates that drops out with Gibbs White going a bit deeper, which kind of does kill Gibbs White as an FPL asset, unfortunately. Penalties, Wood, Gibbs White the backup. Free kicks, Gibbs White and maybe Murillo as well. Yes, the defensive contribution master also could take the odd free kick. And corners, all about another defensive contribution master, and that is Elliot Anderson at 5.5 million. Spurs with some injury problems ahead of the new season. Solanke not expected to start the season. Now, Doggy, same situation, and Maddison is out for a very long time. But there should be still a fair few safe players in the Spurs team ahead of their great fixture run. The question marks really are maybe around the striker. Richarlison, I'm predicting here. Kudus, probably best bet to play at right wing. But we've got some other, attackers for Spurs that could come in various games. We've got Odebear, we've got Tell as well. And if Eze comes in at some point, he's probably going to displace Sarr, who has been playing as an attacking midfielder during the preseason. Polina should be thrown straight in as well. And the left back situation, I guess it's going to be Spence, but we could see Archie Gray maybe come in there. Van der Ven can play left back as well, and I think that's where the concerns are. But Pedro Porro fans, you'll be very pleased to know that without Maddison, we're probably going to see Pedro Porro take some free kicks, take some corners. That's going to be pretty nice there, at least until Eze signs. If Eze signs. For penalties, Solanke, Richarlison, Tell, pretty much whatever striker is on the pitch. The final newly promoted team, Sunderland, should line up something like this. Maybe some question marks around some of the players, but I think most of the team is pretty straightforward from my own research anyway. Just a question mark around maybe the one of the central midfield positions. Sadiki has played plenty in pre-season, but he's not 100% nailed on. Talby at right mid, Mayenda at striker. We're not going to see Mark Gue play immediately for Sunderland, lacking a bit of match fitness. Same kind of situation for Enzo Lefebvre. Apparently might not be quite ready to go for game week 1, which is why I've not predicted either of those two new signings in the Sunderland starting 11. Penalties, we can only really go off last season. So Roberts, Isidore, 09, probably going to be your guys, but free kicks and corners, we have got some evidence in pre-season that it's going to be the likes of Xhaka and Lefebvre as those set-piece takers there. West Ham United have been lining up a little bit like this in pre-season. Well, pretty much exactly like this in pre-season. So Bowen, now listed as a striker, a forward in FPL, kind of actually playing as a winger off Fulkrog, who should be low risk as the striker there. Paqueta playing pretty advanced there as well, but really Juve at 4.5 million, bombing up that left-hand side is going to be super interesting this season. I think he's going to be the best fullback out of him and Wan-Bissaka for West Ham, because he'll have much more license to get forward and really provide that width as Lucas Paqueta kind of tucks in a little bit there. Bowen can provide more width, I guess, on the other side of the pitch. Potts at 4.5 million looks like the midfielder that could start in game week 1 at that cheap price tag. And there's some question marks around the goalkeeper, because there has been a new goalkeeper signing, Hermansen, signing from Leicester, which does put Areola at risk. We think that the former Leicester goalkeeper is going to be the long-term goalkeeper for West Ham. So Areola, not really a pick to be looking at anymore. Penalties, Lucas Paqueta, followed by Bowen. Free kicks, Ward-Prowse, Paqueta, Bowen again. Corners, Ward-Prowse, Emerson, if he ever plays anymore, now that Juve is at the team, and Paqueta maybe with some corner share as well. And wow, our final team in the video is going to be Wolves. I think a lot of these players are fairly straightforward. John Arias is going to come in as a winger here. Strand Larsen nailed on as a striker. The question marks really are around the right centre-back position and maybe the right wing-back position, because I don't think Hover is going to be a long-term right wing-back for Wolves. They are trying to sign a new player. Wolf, high-risk left-back. He's a new signing. He's not even been added into FPL at time of recording, even though he signed for Wolves like 2 weeks ago. So what's up there? Fer Lopez at right wing here, but could see Bellegarde, Monetzi playing that position as well, which is why he's at high risk. For penalties, well, Wolves haven't taken a penalty in so long that He-Chan was actually the last player to take one, unless you include like Sarabia and Cunha, who, are not at the club or not there anymore. Strand Larsen and Arias maybe contenders to take penalties as well, but again, difficult to say. Free kicks, I think, and corners going to be Arias and Bellegarde. These are going to be the guys taking those set pieces. And oh my word, guys, that is all 20 teams. We got through it, guys, and you got through the video with me. Now you have all of the information you need to know. Thanks again to FotMob for helping me with so much information for this video, guys. Check them out completely for free using the link in the description. You know, there's no catch there. It's just a great app, I guess, for you guys to use. Of course, check out Fantasy Football Hub as well using my link if you want to get your membership there. But until later on today, I will see you later, mates. More videos to come. Bye-bye.